Who here has played the game Truth or Dare at some point when they were little? I think we can all say that we played the game Truth or Dare at some point in our lives, or the majority of us have. For those of you who have not played this game or haven't played it in a while, let me refresh your memory. So one person's leading the game, and we'll go around in a circle, and when it becomes your turn, you choose truth, where you have to answer a question truthfully. Might be embarrassing. Or you choose a dare, which also might be embarrassing, but you have to go do something that the person leading the game dares you to do. So obviously there's two players in this game, right? The truthers and the darers. The darers are usually seen as the cool kids, the people who are reckless and will be brave. But they're also very key players because they don't really let fear get in the way of doing something. However, the truthers are seen as straight-laced, safe players, sometimes seen as boring, but they're also brave because they are brave enough to expose their vulnerability, because sometimes a question can be very personal and they have to answer it truthfully, and sometimes that puts you in a place where people might judge you or point fingers at you. So both players are important. But in the game of life, I found that you have to be a hybrid of both. You can't pick truth, you can't pick dare. You have to be a true darer. So here's how you do it. It's 3 steps, and it's a cyclical process. You dare, you truth, and then you dare again. So let me explain this through the experience that I've had that made me come to this conclusion. So I'm a runner, not just a recreational runner that I do it for fun. I'm highly competitive. I ran competitively in high school. I also ran competitively in college, and I still run competitively, but not at the elite level. I have a full-time job, I have some volunteering opportunities, and so I still run, but not as much as I used to. I love this crazy sport because it challenges you mentally, physically, emotionally. I love the whole process. I love eating right. I love climbing mountains, running up Copper Mountain in less than 60 minutes. I love sitting in ice baths after running 800 hill repeats, so I can recover faster the next day to go and run up to 10 to 14 miles. And I love the team aspect of it too. Even though running is sometimes an individual sport, everyone who does do running understands how hard it can be, and so there's some sort of camaraderie and respect for one another. Running has also always come natural to me. Last year I signed up for a race, Boulder, Colorado. It was a cross-country national championships. I signed up the day before because I had heard about it, seen about it. I loved cross-country in high school and college, so I thought, why not? That day I ended up getting 10th in a pretty highly competitive field, and I had little to no training at that point, and it was a very good day. And it was that day that someone came up to me after the race and said, you know, if this would have been a World's year, you would have qualified to make Team USA's to represent the United States in another country in a cross-country race. And obviously, being competitive, I really got fired up, and I signed up to compete and train for the World's cross-country race in 2015. So signing up was easy. Getting to this point today, though, 6 days before the race in 2015, has been the hardest thing in my whole entire life. I had no idea what I was getting myself into signing up for a highly competitive elite race. So, my dare, right? I signed up to make cross-country Team USA the day after the race. So, February 15th of 2014 was my starting point. After a solid spring and summer of base strength and getting some miles in, the fall brought a pleasant surprise to me that I got invited to race the USA USA Road Championships in Washington, D.C. It was because of my 10th place finish in February that I got invited to this elite race. Now, let me remind you again that these types of races, when they're USA Championships, are completely different than a high school or college race. These races are amongst the best of the best, and they're with people who train for a living. So that means I was going to race against women like Molly Huddle, Emily Sisson, Sarah Hall, decorated runners who wake up, they eat, they train for 1 to 2 hours, they take a nap, then they train for 1 to 2 more hours, and they might do some strength training, lots of media, and they eat, sleep, breathe, and dream running. These women are absolutely phenomenal and animals. So here I was, Alexa Rogers, thinking, oh, I got a great summer and fall in, I can compete with these girls. I didn't really know how much went into professional running and how much time they put in. So here, I didn't necessarily know up front until someone who had some experience warned me about that. Maybe a month before, he said, Alexa, you know who you're competing against, right? They do doubles every day, morning and evening. They have nutritionist counselors, they have strength trainers. And he said, just to warn you. And so I didn't really think anything of it. But I did take some of it into consideration. So with those 4 weeks, I'm like, well, shoot, maybe I should start doubling and training. But, with a full-time job as an HR data analyst, working 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, I didn't really know how I could fit that in, so I forced it into my schedule. Meaning, I would wake up at 4 a.m., I would get 30 to 40 minutes on the bike or in the pool or running before work, and then I would drive 40 minutes to work 8 hours, and then I'd get off, maybe run some errands, do some volunteering opportunities, and try to force more training, get home, and then I would cook myself dinner, get maybe 6 hours of sleep, and start over again. So in my head, I was thinking I was doing all the right things, but really, I was really exhausting myself and trying to do something that I wasn't really educated about by myself. So the day finally came to race in Washington, D.C. I was thrilled to dare to compete against these wonderful, phenomenal women, but was brought down to reality during the tactical meeting the night before the race. So I walked into the conference room where the meeting was being held, and the room was separated. All the girls were sitting over here, and the guys were sitting over here. And I didn't really know many of the girls. I did recognize one of the guys, and so I went and sat next to him. And another guy next to me looked at me, and he said, "Oh, I've never seen you here before. What's your name?" And I introduced myself as Alexa, and he said, "Oh, who are you sponsored by?" I had no idea what that meant, but for those of you who don't know, that means a company like New Balance, Nike, Saucony, Brooks will pick an athlete that they feel can represent them well and give them some sort of stipend or money to compete, giving them materials and resources to represent them in races and hopefully win races. And since I didn't know what that means, and I wasn't sponsored, I was like, "Oh, I'm not sponsored." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, who's your coach?" And I was like, myself. And then he's like, "Oh, then what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I'm here to race the 12K national championship." He's like, "Have you done a national championship before?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "Oh, I don't think you know what you're getting yourself into." So right away, I was just like, well, shoot, he's right. I don't have a coach. They're not sponsored. I don't really have a team. And maybe I'm not experienced enough. So that automatically got into my head with all those truths. I walked up on the starting line, and I was completely humbled by getting second to last place on that day, something that I had never really experienced before. So I was really crushed. I came back to Colorado, where I'm originally from, and didn't want to tell anybody about my race because I was embarrassed. My self-confidence was down, and also the belief in myself was also down because I realized really where I stood amongst these women. I mean, I was so far behind. And coming back, some people, found out about how I did, and they knew about my previous goal, which was to make Team USA's, and they just said, Alexa, you can't compare yourself to these women. You won't ever be able to compete at their level. I mean, you work full time. You can't do it. So just go out there and have fun. And they also said, you won't ever have someone to push you because you can't join a team because you work full time. So you can never reach those times that those girls are hitting without anyone to push you. So I was really down, and I have a journal, a running journal, and I watched my goals go from making Team USA, which is top 10, to making top 20 and being okay with not making top 10, to just finishing the race, to not doing the race. It was a steady decline. So I was stuck in the truths of my situation. And it wasn't until I flipped through my journal one night and I came across a quote I had written down when I first started to embark on this dare of making Team USA for cross country. And the quote is, "The winner is the one person that sees defeat as an unacceptable option." And I sat there and thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm better than giving up. I'm not going to walk away from something that I started a long time ago. I got to finish what I started. So I decided to true dare my situation. I took a sticky note and I wrote down my dare, which was to make USA cross-country national team. I stuck that sticky note on my mirror so I could see it every single day. I then took another sticky note and I wrote down all the truths that I've been hearing my own head say and also other people say. And there was 3 that stood out to me the most. I wasn't fast enough. I couldn't. 2, people said I didn't have anyone to push me to reach those times. And 3, worst of all, the most ugly truth was I had come to the truth that I didn't believe in myself to do this. And then I challenged, so I put that sticky note up, got a 3rd sticky note, and I challenged myself to dare every single one of those truths. So the first one, I wasn't fast enough. Wrote it down, and then put 3 dots and said, yet. So to address that truth, I started to put myself into the mental aspect of challenging myself every day to not accept defeat as an option. Not just not winning, but not to accept defeat in myself. Never to stop believing in myself. Always pushing myself. And you know what? The reason why I wasn't fast enough is because I had never been there before. Of course I wasn't fast enough. It's because I hadn't pushed myself to that level. So I decided, you know what? If I want to be fast enough, I'm going to push myself to that level. I'm going to tell my brain that when it feels pain, I can break that barrier, and I will. So the second truth, there was no one to push me. So again, yet, I went out back to my high school coach, asked him to help me out. He's a very smart, intelligent man in running. I started recruiting people around me that believed in me. My sister, my parents, my family, my best friends, people at work that became my life coaches, the girls that I coach at Colorado School of Mines and that head coach there, everyone that could challenge me, inspire me, motivate me, and show me the way. I also recruited some of my best guy friends. In some of my workouts, I would have them sprint ahead of me and have someone to chase, and they unselfishly came every time I asked them. And third, the other truth, that I didn't believe in myself. Again, ... yet. So what I did there was I arranged my schedule and mindset so I could believe in myself. I no longer could push myself like these girls that are competing and training for this race as their job. That is a very respectable job, and that's their full-time job. I have a full-time job too, and it's not that. But I can still utilize the time that I had, just smarter, not harder. So I try to sleep more than 6 hours. I trained less, but at a higher intensity. And every time a doubt crept in my mind, I would write it down and then immediately write down something that refuted it, like a success of mine that I had in the past, a workout that I crushed that I didn't think I could in the future, a quote that someone said to me that inspired me. I had all these sticky notes on my mirror wall that I saw every single day that kept me going. So dares and goal setting is the easy part, but addressing and walking through some of the truths of situations are hard, but these truths are the necessary evil to be able to continue daring. So the team that I had recruited around me pushed me to another level, and I would not be here today if it wasn't for them. I continued to dare and carried the truths, the ugly ones even, close to my heart, and I watched as they helped me every single day push through to my accomplishing my dare. I watched my time significantly decrease. My easy runs started at 8-minute miles, and they dropped down to 6:40. And that really surprised me because I never had done that before. I went from running 9 to 10 miles being my longest run to 14 to 15 miles. I leveraged my full-time job to increase my ability to resist mental fatigue. Meaning, I would work all day, and at my lunch break when I had an hour, I would leave, and sometimes it would be 74 degrees or higher at high noon, and I would do my workout intervals and be really hot and sweaty, quickly shower, and then go straight back to work. So I was up constantly in the mental grind, and then other days I would have to get up really early and do something like a 30-minute tempo run on the treadmill when it was pitch dark outside, and then, put on my compression pants, put some makeup on, do my hair, go straight to work. But this helped me because I got mentally tougher. I'd also do things at my desk that I couldn't do after. Like as I was talking on the phone, I'd be using my TheraBand, doing some hip strengthening, doing some balancing. Some of my coworkers were like, what the heck is that girl doing? But I was determined I didn't care what anyone thought. I was going to get both jobs done. So today I stand humbly before you, not overestimating myself or underestimating myself. I come before you with the same dare that I had a year ago, with the hopes of making Team USA. From the day I started training up until now, I've spent roughly 2,500 hours of training, and this doesn't include physical only. It was mentally, physically, and emotionally. Time spent reflecting, time spent addressing truths, time spent visualizing, time spent taking care of my body. The race is in 6 days, so I can't stand up here and tell you that I made Team USA's yet. But I do want to stand here and tell you that this whole aspect of being a true darer, this form of living has made me a winner, no matter what happens in 6 days. Because of this form of living, I haven't become complacent anymore. I am never stuck in a dare, and I'm never stuck in a truth. I am constantly in a cyclical process of daring and truthing, daring and truthing, daring and truthing, and that momentum is making me a better person, a better coach, a better worker, a better friend, and a better family member. Constantly aspiring to be better. So, regardless of the outcome, I really want to use this opportunity to dare you to think about the dares in your life. It doesn't have to be sport related. Is it to get a certain job one day? Is it to get over a bad habit of yours? Is it to mend a relationship or start a relationship or change something within yourself? I challenge you to go deep into the truths of that dare. have someone help you if you can't or are afraid to address them yourself. And then I'd like for you to dare again by addressing each of those truths. It's not easy to be a true darer, but it'll take you really far.